Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our Living with Jesus series. And today I am here with MaryBeth, and it is a true honor to be with you here today. So thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing your story and just a little bit more about your relationship with Jesus. So I just like to start at the top, and then we'll just see where we're led through this conversation. But my first question for you is to just talk to me about your relationship with Jesus. Like, how do you see him? Who is he to you?
Yeah. So I don't see him, I feel him. And I feel his devotedness, his faithfulness, his desirousness. I feel his presence palpable. I feel the intensity of his desire to have me allow his love for me. I feel him as both an other and a partner and a personal, a man God, so to speak, but also have moved over the years into feeling him as the life within the cells of my body, the breath that we share, as a communion or a unified it's not even a mind, it's a body, as a body, a subtle body which is intermingled, which flows as two weaving together into one. I experience that he has a face, and you could say that I see his eyes, but it's not his eyes I see. It is what those eyes express. I see my own face in his face. And I see him as one who wears many faces for me. He is brother, he is beloved, he has been romancer and groom, and he is also bride with me to God. He is friend, he is teacher, he is healer. And it seems that he has come and go in my life according to what MaryBeth needs in her relationship with God. Yeah. So I don't know, should I pause there and see and leave room for you to speak to me about where that lands for you?
Thank you for everything that you just shared and how you see him and how you feel him. I feel the part that I guess touched me emotionally the most was when you said that you can see your face reflected in his. And I got chills all over because I feel like I know what you mean. And I love the emphasis on the individuality, but the individuality that leads to an experience of unified oneness with one another. And just the peace is so palpable. And I feel it's also important to know what you noted at the end, that Jesus shows up to the degree with which MaryBeth needs at any given time. And I think that's important for a lot of people to hear, that even if we feel sometimes like he may not be as strong, or may not be like seeing his eyes or his face in the way we might want to, it's not that he ever leaves us. It's just that we have lessons that we're learning. And the instant that the timing aligns to reintegrate into our close and intimate divine relationship with him, it'll happen in a minute, in a second, in an instant. And so I feel almost this conversation today is a container to allow those who are watching and listening to just allow their hearts to open and to just settle into the space where he is and where we are, where they can feel this presence of his love and let it fill them on the deepest level of their own being in the way that they need the most. So I loved everything you said.
Oh, thank you. And I do offer a prayer that this is a holy instant with Jesus, with you and me, in which everyone who visits this place feels themselves refreshed in the embrace of God, inviting them into relationship with that one who will wear and be a very personal friend, or one for them according to their need. Yeah.
Beautiful. I join you in that. So I feel like the wholeness and the beauty with which you speak. And so it makes me curious as to how you came into a relationship with Jesus in this way. Was it always this way for you? Was there a turning point for you? I would just love to know more about that story.
Well, it's as if the turning point was a constant 360 around and around and around, as maybe you could see it as a spiral upward through many forgivenesses and many becomings, developments of my own soul. I came to accept him I would say through pain and suffering. When I was a child, I had a number of experiences. I can tell you one. I was a kind of kid who would go to church by myself because my home life was very difficult. And during that period of time, just before I received communion, Catholic, I had a dear friend who drowned in a fishing accident. And he was one of two brothers. The one that I saw as soft and loving and generous and Jesuit-like. And I could not understand why God had taken him. And of course, nobody tells a little kid, that your friend is not coming back. You learn these things sort of through the grapevine. And in that period of time, I began to just go sit in the church, which in those days, the doors were open in dim light, and look up into the eyes of Mary and Jesus, big statues for a little kid. And I would feel comfort. I would feel that everything was going to be okay. And I think, I may not have said it in so many words, I think I committed my life then and there to this friendship with both of them. And later on, around, I think I was about 12, maybe 11 or 10, I remember going to my mother, who was sitting at a dining room table, and saying, I'm going to be working for Jesus. And my mother, taken aback by that, we were Catholic, but not overtly religious. And we certainly, I'm sorry, that's my little,
Oh,
we,
that's okay.
we certainly didn't talk about our spirits, our souls, our God. And so she said, well, how do you know that? Like, how do you know you're going to be working for Jesus? And I said, he told me. He told me I was going to be working for him. And it's not as if I heard that. And I remember saying, he told me. Yeah, he told me. It was as if I was already beginning to have a kind of deeper intuitive knowing, a deeper dialogue, maybe without words, of feeling and intuition, which was that certainty of just knowing. So, and then much later in life, I won't tell you all of it, but as a result of divorce, I was very happily married, or so I thought, 2 kids, 3 and 6, and had a divorce. And it was what Marianne Williamson calls the wrecking ball of karma on the direction we have imagined for our life. And because of that, it was at that time that the Course in Miracles came into my life. And because of that, I began to sit really devotedly, but mostly in fear, crying every day, kind of venting to Jesus, and but then beginning to really receive the gifts that the lessons of the Course bring, and then soon after, truly hearing His voice for love. I sat that way in my woundedness every day for 10 years. And every day for 10 years, I wept. And sometimes that weeping was just part of the healing process of what I had experienced, or probably the wounding of a whole lifetime of rejection and feeling not good enough, not worthy enough. More than that, began to know that he was meeting me there in that very place where I was broken, or in that very place where I could not trust and could not accept his love for me. And when he would meet me, weep, because for love, for the experience of feeling his love and his personal compassion, witness, actually is bearing it with me. Really felt like he was bearing it with me and gently coaxing me to trust him. I did not trust men, was deathly afraid. I made the vow, when you're hurt, several times you make a vow and say, I'm not doing this ever again. And so he came wooing, seducing, romancing, whispering very gently, with words of such beauty and wisdom that I could feel the truth and that I wanted to be true. And little by little over the years, I let go and allowed this more fullness in this relationship. and consequently what I would call consummation, not only of palpable sort of romance, but far beyond what specialness or romance, the way we think of it, would facilitate. It was consummation into completion, into self, into authenticity, into power. I was extremely weak and afraid of the world. And I began to assume or radiate power that allowed me to start a foundation of open hearts, to begin private practice, to raise two beautiful children, spiritual beings, to begin teaching as he healed me and taught me how to heal, and to begin a private practice, which is, and all of those pieces that began then are now in my life. So out of that came, you want me to keep going on? I want to give you, okay, let me just share that out of that came, I began to hear with such fervency his desire to express, that I began to write everything, and it literally was what I call a living, breathing poetry of Jesus, that the words would literally fly from the pen, and as they were flying out, he called them intimacies. There was a little voice behind me, which doesn't ever quite go away, but this little voice behind me saying, what are you writing that for? That's a pile of junk. The liar, the doubter. And finally, I began to share what was happening to me with a dear friend that I knew would tell me the truth. And he was blown away and said, this is definitely the voice for love, and you must keep writing, and you must do exactly as it says. And I went on to put it down into book form. But, and I'm hoping, it's taken me this long I'm hoping to share that soon. I haven't yet shared that piece with the world because it's so intensely personal, but also it really is an extraordinary message of so many things, what it means to be in relationship, what it means in terms of masculine and feminine and the roles we play, what true communication is and would express. It gave me privy to an inside view of Mary and of Magdalene. And not that I ever felt that I was them, but that it was as if I was allowed to be in the mind of these holy women in their relationship with him, and and especially in their moving through crucifixion and resurrection. So he's given me so much. He's given me myself in all of this, and more now as I still write poetry, but the voice and the way that it is expressed is more from a oneness, a unification, and that sometimes the voice is Jess as the beloved, and sometimes it's me, my true self, and sometimes it's leading through a Father, the one that encapsulates all relationship, the only true relationship. And and I have had great resistance to that. There's been a real wanting to hold on to the personal alone, maybe even the specialness of it, or maybe even the fact that it addresses my own personal neediness, and to move into consummation, the voice of and for love as a consciousness of Christ as me within him within me, we within the Father within all, as one being, which has many facets and ways of expressing according to our needs.
Oh. Well, you expressed that beautifully. I feel everything that you're saying. And I love that your story starts with just letting Jesus meet you where you are in your suffering and pain. Like, it's not this idea of having to make yourself better for him, but in a sense, he makes you better through him, and he just meets you where you are. And I feel like there's just such a humbleness, openness about that anyone can kind of, wherever they are, in whatever darkness they find themselves in, that he will meet you there. And I also love that it was a consistent practice of just showing up every day. It's another beautiful woman on this channel that I interviewed, and she talks about showing up every day for divine therapy. You're showing up for divine therapy.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And I feel like that is what you're leaning into, and what you're talking about is like, you took that time to be still, to sit with Christ, to let the tears wash over you and through you, and feel that love, let that pure love heal you. And then it brought you to yourself of knowing that you are love itself. And then your final words of saying how he showed you your true self, which is the Christ, which you see in him, and he is in you, and you together in the Father, and then the Father in all of us, and then all together we are this one presence, this one energy of love. Like, that's everything. And I feel like this is something that, and we can say the words, but I feel, especially with the Course in Miracles, and you having that come to you as part of your path, I feel like the Course in Miracles helps us to take that divine therapy as like a priority necessity for us, because it's in that divine therapy that we will have the experience of our oneness, of our united nature. And it's that experience that crystallizes our beliefs. And we know that what we believe, we will see. That's why Jesus so highlights, those who believe without seeing are so blessed, because it's in that realm of faith. And so I feel like your story is very empowering and inspiring. And I love what you're also pointing to as well, is that he's inspired you creatively to write and to offer poetry, and to be a teacher and a healer and a guide in all of these ways. And that it's just continuing to evolve for you, that it's not like, oh, here, I've reached this point, I'm great. It's like, no, like, we're on this planet, we're ever evolving and growing in our faith and in our identity and what he would have us share. So I feel like that's such an important part of it too. I'm always a huge fan of God's law. Like as we give, we receive. And it sounds like you're in the center of that presence.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I do want to reiterate about the therapy, and you call it divine therapy.
Yeah.
But I would also like to say that I think it is pretty much essential for all of us to find mentors, therapists, others, along with Jesus, as we are beginning to recognize that we are not living lovingly. We are not loving ourselves. We are not be in relationship. That and it is a wonderful part of a spiritual journey to begin to unveil and be vulnerable to another listener who is compassionate and understanding. Jesus is there too. And so I really do recommend that to people as they are longing to be in relationship with God in a way that is healing. I also wanted to say that there is no, so you said it's not as if you get to a place where you stop and you go, I made it, I'm great, right? And so for me, this becoming, this unifying is never ending. It's everlasting, and it is the everlastingness of those, the arms of that embrace into union is what is the joy of knowing God, the joy of relationship, the joy of forever, a God of forever. Is relationship, but it's the never-ending relationship, unlike that of the world, which we tumble into and find ourselves totally possessed by its exquisite attributes and the places where it offers us to stretch our minds, to explore more deeply, to feel and express, and also to be still in the awe of that we can even be in relationship in or with silence. So never, I made it, I'm great. But the opposite, in a way, it's not that I don't celebrate how far I've come, because I celebrate it. And I am so grateful, but there's also this humbleness that looks out from that high place and hears or feels the whisper of the invitation to come deeper and closer.
Beautiful. So glad you highlighted the importance of relationships, because I feel like that's, divine therapy essential, but then also showing up with others and admitting maybe your missteps, your mistakes, your wrongdoings, asking for help, calling for help, joining together in that presence of help. Like that's, in my experience, where the miracles happen, is when we have a chance to help and be helped, and to save and be saved, and to bless one another through our asking for help and receiving it together. And I feel like even in the Bible, the whole where two or more gather in my name, or you 2 by 2, you cross the bridge. Like I have an understanding of miracles and the Course in Miracles as being expressions of love. As you give the love, you receive the love. As you see the Christ in your brother, you will know it in yourself. Like, as you are helpful to another, you will be helped yourself. Like, it's all about relationship. And I feel like that's the fastest way where we can come to know ourselves and to heal, is by being honest, being vulnerable, being open. And honestly, for me, it's worked with like God, like spirit, whoever, source, something that I do not know yet. Show me whom I'm meant to connect with, speak to, help, that could be of greatest service to me. And that prayer is enough. Like, I even just had that experience a few weeks ago where I ran into someone at my daughter's school, and she said, the weekend before, she fell to her knees, was like, God, I need help. Send me someone, I need help. And then her and I end up talking, and she's like, oh my God, you do what I asked for. And we had this holy coming together of like pupil and student. And I feel like it's in those moments where I've reached out for help, and I've had other teachers or mentors or therapists or friends. Like, that's where some of my biggest breakthroughs happen, is in those relationships. And then I take that into my prayer time and my divine therapy time, and I can understand it more and unravel it more and unpack it more and heal it more and undo it more. But the relationships really are where our salvation lies, in each other.
Love that. Yeah. I love that you are sort of witnessing to the fact that He answers your prayer, meets your need. Yeah. And how important it is, like what we're doing right now. The value of this is immeasurable, whether or not anyone ever sees it. What we are sharing here and the dialogue is essential to our own revelation of love for us, of our own power, of God, really essential. Yeah. So thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you. I'm like, you want me to interview people with their love and living with you? Yes. That's the only thing I want to talk about.
Well, that is worth talking about. It really
is. It is. I received so much just listening to you guys, and your faith like amplifies my faith. And like you're saying, even if like another person doesn't hear this, that this is still such a blessing of an exchange between the two of us. And that's enough. And then everything else is an added bonus and another added blessing on top of that. So,
well, it is a holy instant. It is more than just words going back and forth, or even meanings going back and forth. It is a holy instant. And it is an instant in which God is present, Jesus is present. And where two or more are. I'm sure you say that a lot here, but
I do.
yeah, where two or more are. Right? Yeah.
Oh, goodness, my heart is so full. But I have another question here for you, and I would love to hear your answer to this. But what would you say is Jesus's true message? Like, if you could be like, this is what he's trying to share with the world? Like, what would you say his message is?
I'm kind of asking in.
Take your time. Yeah.
Because,
How it works.
Yeah. So, I think his true message is, you are God from God. You are light from light. You are real and worthy. think part of his true message too is, and I can hear sort of saying, it need not be so serious and so difficult if you but knew how much you are loved and the depth of your own for me and for all creation. I think that he came to save us from ourselves or from our separated specialness. And I think and I trust that his message for each of us is that we are purposeful here, that we belong, that our is of inestimable value to the raising, the healing, and the raising of the consciousness of the planet, of all humanity. That unity and consciousness raising will not be complete without you and me and every one of us. He gave us the means for that. Of course, I'm sorry, but he gave us the means for that. He is the means for that, the way for that. He is the embodiment of the Holy Spirit. He is the truth that we can lean into, but his most glorious means for empowering us is forgiveness. And he showed us a depth and breadth of forgiveness. That allows us to end every temptation of war and separation.
So beautiful. I love hearing it come through you and having such a focus on the importance of identity. As I talk about that all the time, that if we were to see and know ourselves as Jesus sees and knows us, there would be no war, there would be no suffering, there would be no pain, because who we are is who God created us to be eternally, and that's changeless. It doesn't change no matter what goes on here. And Jesus is the head of this whole thing, demonstrating and teaching us consistently in present day how to see and know ourselves as love without opposite. And I love your language of also recognizing our capacity to love. That's the magnitude right there. That's what's most needed here, is for us to know ourselves as love and accept that and just give the love most maximally. And I feel like that's when we can come into our special function and our ability to fulfill the mission that's laid on our hearts, on our path, on our script, that, you know, links into what Jesus did in his perfect demonstration to really bring blessing to every corner of this experience of life on earth. And it really does just start with our decision to let everything that is not love to be washed away in his presence and through forgiveness, like you're saying. So that's really beautiful. Everything you shared is really speaks to me deeply. Thank you, Jesus.
Exactly. Well, as you say that, thank you, Jesus. The truth is that we do not recognize the extent of gratitude Jesus expresses for us.
Mm-hmm.
I heard him many, many, many times say thank you. And there are many times, particularly, more so years ago, but sometimes even now when I'm writing a blog late at night or doing something, and I'm like, what am I doing this for? Why am I working on this? And, I could be in bed or I could go for a run or whatever it is. And I really feel the sweetness of his great fullness expressed, his great fullness expressed as thanksgiving, right? Which fills me. And talk about energizing. There's just a kind of melting of the resistance to, and he expresses gratitude for all pathways, for all being, all forms of divinity. Unlike me, when I have many times wanted to not see why somebody was worthy of appreciation. Yeah.
It's reminding me of a thought in the Course, actually, where Jesus tells us to be committed to overlooking others' mistakes and focusing on how much we appreciate them. And I mean, he says it a lot more beautiful than I just did, but that's the point. And I feel like that is a truly helpful practice of overlooking the mistakes in others as well as ourselves, and really allowing that appreciation to come in for others and for ourselves. And I love what you're saying is like Jesus's gratitude unto us as well. Even just for showing up every day, just doing the best we can every day. And in that gratitude really is love and miracles. I love that gratefulness. That's
gratefulness. And that gratefulness, that's beautiful. And that gratefulness is, so again, here's the personal, but it is the gratefulness of the Father or the Source or the Creator or the Divine Mother, whatever it is, and Jesus is the expression and extension of that gratefulness, which we recognize as that which so covets us, that it lives and dwells in us in quiet, waiting to be accepted, waiting for us to look up into its face and take our place in heaven. Amen.
Oh, well, I feel I have coming to the final question here, but I think that this could be a helpful, practical one for people because you've expressed a lot of like how you feel him, and we tune into this gratefulness, and I feel like you're very similar to me, and that you kind of receive intuition, sometimes visuals, but it's more so like a feeling, a knowing, a certainty. It's very
Yeah.
much like myself. But my question, I guess, is for those who are perhaps on the fence of their faith and maybe been a little bit jaded by the ideas of Jesus in the past and are unsure if they can fully trust in him or hear him, do you have like some sort of practice that you do or prayer that you say that helps you to feel him and know that what you feel you can trust? You know, it's a big question.
Yes, I do. And it is one he gave me, and I took it out to share with you. But I do want to say to those who have been like me, so skeptical and so doubtful, and so, well, this is really nice and I would like it to be true, but I just can't get there, right? I would say, my life, and let my life be witness for you that the healing and the miracle and the beauty of the life that I have now from whence I came is purely an effect of my allowing trust to become, to overshadow any faithlessness or doubt. And I have a very short reading which he gave me, which is called "I Can Be Trusted." Would it be all right if I read it?
Oh, please. Yes, yes.
All right. So this is from Right Beloved, right? He says, soften the brow, soften the heart, soften the breath. I go before you. I can be trusted. I have been in the midst of trouble before, and untroubled have given you reason to unfurl the ridges that line your face. I know what to do. I restore. I embrace the helpless. I hear you. I can be trusted. How does the lover come close when you are hard, rigid, unyielding to his touch? Look at the defense that costs you so much, that costs you the love that impassions your life, that leaves you defunct, a fatigued and fruitless vine. Soften the mind, soften the eyes, butter the bread of communion with your life wide open, with your consent, with a yes. Give me all the rest. Give me the discontent, the fear, the doubt, the beatings on your breast of frustration. Lean upon my strength. I will gird you up. I will draw you in. I am open, a hidden tunnel giving way as you tumble into welcome, into word. Unlike the judge who abuses the tenderness you offer, who shreds the gifts you give into raw and ragged threads, I am gently exalted in your precious, depthless softness. Soften the brow. Soften the heart. Soften the breath. I can be trusted. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't even have words on what you just shared with us. Such a gift. I see it can be used for every single person who was blessed to listen to that today. Even just the reminder of softening the brow, softening the heart. He can be trusted. That's exactly what is needed.
And the
feel
breath.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna use that. That's my gem. That's my gem.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share in this way. It's so much fun, and it's everything we live for, to hear the word and to be able to express it. It must be for you too, because look at you here. Your delight and your joy in giving what has been given you. Yeah.
That's it. That's everything. You're speaking my mind. Yes. Well, thank you. This has been an honor and a gift to share the space with you. And I feel his presence even more deeply than I did at the beginning when we started. And I trust that those who are witnessing and listening and just part of this call, I want to call it, that they can tune into it and feel it too, and know that we're all joined in this space and meeting each other in this space. And this is a safe, beautiful, healing space. And I just thank everyone who did click play on this today. And I'm just wanting them to be reminded of how much you guys are loved and the light of the world, along with Jesus and ourselves. And we're just preparing ourselves to do whatever he would ask us to do. And in that is so much joy and so much peace and so much sisterhood and brotherhood and everything wonderful, even more than we could possibly imagine. So this is a beautiful call and reminder, I know, for all of us. So thank you for your gift, MaryBeth. Thank you for sharing.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Peace.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.